This was a really interesting article. Recently, The Athletic interviewed an anonymous scout, coach, and executive asking them to pick the NBA Finals. The scout went with the Celtics due to their more difficult path to the finals. The coach also going with Boston because of their defense being able to limit easy buckets by Golden State more than likely. The executive, however, chose the Warriors, mostly due to home court advantage. Shannon, you picked Boston in 7. How much better do you feel about your pick after hearing about this Athletic article?
Well, it doesn't change my anything about it, Skip. I still feel confident in my pick because I believe 2 of the 3 best players on the court at a given time will belong to the Celtics. JT, Jason Tatum, JB, Jaylen Brown. Steph Curry in that mix, but I believe 2 of the 3 best players on the court will belong to the Boston Celtics. Now, we understand what Steve Kerr, being in that situation, that core having played together for such an extended period of time, Kevon Looney, Draymond, Steph, and Clay, we understand that. But the athleticism in which the Boston Celtics can trot out there, the guy, the ability to make shots, JT, JB, I love Al Horford, the toughness that he brings, the physicality. Robert Williams should be a little more healthy, Skip. He's going to get plenty of rest. He got 3 days rest, and the next game isn't until Sunday, so he'll get 2 more days of rest, Skip. And so instead of the back-to-back, because remember, Skip, they won 12 games in 22 days. That's a toll on them. And I love what they bring. The Grant Williams can come in, and we saw what he did in Game 7, Skip, at home against the Milwaukee Bucks, where he made 7, 8 threes. That probably won't happen again, but he gives you a nice physicality. He gives you an opportunity to make some buckets. I love White coming off the bench. Saved them in a couple of games, kept them close, and then they were able to pull away late in the ball game. So for me, Skip, and the defense in which they can play, they can switch 1 through 5. I like Jason Tatum. I like the matchup in which they present the Golden State Warriors. Yeah, I understand the Warriors at home and the Celtics hadn't been very good. You're going to probably need to take care of home court because the likelihood of you winning 3 games on Golden State's home court, Skip, isn't very good, although I do believe they're going to get one of these first 2 games in Golden State. And I agree with what they said. They've had the tougher round, Skip. Brooklyn was favored to beat the Boston Celtics. And then you have to do what they did against Giannis. And we know what Giannis represents. Although Chris Middleton wasn't there, they were very formidable. And then they had to take down the number 1 seed, the Miami Heat. And we know what the Heat represent. So I do believe they're a little more battle-tested. The core of the Warriors have been battle-tested over time, not tested as much because they got round 1, they got Jokic with really nothing around him in the first round. And then the Mavs do them a favor by knocking out the Phoenix Suns. They get the Mavs in the final, Skip. So for me, I believe that JT and JB, the matchup with which they present for the Warriors, will be a problem. So that's why I like them. 7 games, but I still like the Celtics. I didn't need these, and look, they do what they do, but I didn't need them because I had pressed my assessment on what I've seen and what I believe is going to play out in the 7-game series.
I figured you would say just that. You'd say, I got this already. I don't need any help here because I feel real good.
I do feel
I'm
good.
on 10 on a confidence scale of 1 to 10 in my pick. That's what Shannon Sharp believes.
If everybody was healthy, Robert Williams was 100% healthy, I would feel at least a 9. Right now, about 8.5, 8 3/4.
Yeah, I can hear it going up it's ticking toward.
I mean, 9. Who knows about tomorrow? Now I come in here and sleep on, have another good night's sleep like I had last night. Ain't no telling. It might be 11, 12.
It might be 11 or 12.
Sure might.
I can hear it in your voice.
You keep talking, I'm going to put some cases on it now.
We're getting close.
Yeah, we are getting close.
I'm about to deconstruct what the scout said and what the coach said anonymously to The Athletic. But 2 of the 3 insiders go Boston.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, Golden State is still favored to win the series by the odds makers, and Golden State, the last time I looked, was a 3.5-point favorite in Game 1. But the 2 insiders say, nope, Celtics with an exclamation point. And Shannon Sharp says, well, I knew that.
Yeah.
I didn't need anybody to tell me that. Okay, deconstructing. Scout. He says, as you echoed, that Boston had the much tougher road, a very tough road, very competitive road to get here.
They beat 2 top 5 players, Skip. I mean, most indications, I think you would agree that Kevin Durant and Giannis are 2 top 5 players in the NBA, and they took both of those teams down.
I thought the Nets were a psychological wreck, whirling around an unvaccinated Kyrie Irving. And I thought it all year, and I voiced my concerns all year. I stuck with them in the first round over Boston just because I'd picked them before the season started. But in the end, I'm not sure it was a major achievement to take down a team that had already lost at one stretch 12 straight games, in part because Kyrie couldn't play all those games because he couldn't play at home. But there was a 12-game losing streak in there. And
you just realized that after you picked him?
Well, no, I picked him before the season started, so pride goeth before the fall. But I'm never skip over here.
Yeah.
Once I pick,
Okay.
I dig in and I stand by my men.
Yeah.
And I stood by these guys, but all they had to do, it was very smart, but like simply, almost stupidly smart, that Ime said, well, I don't fear Kyrie. They're kind of a mess. Let's just attack the guy, the nuclear weapon. Let's send 3 people at him. And let's rough him up and knock him around and play a little NFL, NBA on him. And they did, and he folded. He folded his tent, even though 2 of those games were very close and went to the wire. And you could argue there was a 3rd game that was at least iffy back and forth. But the point was, I'm not that impressed by what they did because they were the #1 defensive team. And when you only have one man to stop,
you had 2 guys in Kyrie and KD. Don't do that, Skip. You just said they're 2 of the most skilled guys that's ever been assembled as a team.
Yeah, but somehow Kyrie just drifted into oblivion in that series. He had that one big 4th quarter in Game 1, and they had a shot to win Game 1, and they did not. And yet we move along to Milwaukee, and right on cue, they get Milwaukee without its closer, without Chris Middleton, who's not quite as valuable with Giannis, but let's not underrate his value because he is a shooter. He is a professional shooter, and he is a big-time clutch shooter. And when it all falls onto the shoulders of Drew Holiday to be the second scoring option, they're going to have a hard time.
Yeah.
So Boston was able to say, Drew can have his. We're going to try to take Giannis out of this game with some football, basketball defense. And they did. For the most part, they controlled him about as well as you can control him.
He wasn't the efficient Giannis.
All right. And then I'm going to fast forward one more round to the Heat. Right on schedule, they get the Heat that I picked to win the championship before the playoffs started.
Yeah.
And number 1, there's little to no Tyler Hero. He was the 6th man of the year. He shot 40% from 3 and averaged 21 points a game and shot 43% from 3 during 4th quarters of regular season games. That's how he won 6th man of the year.
Right.
And he was a ghost. He was a no-show. And then he pulls his groin and he misses basically the last 3 games.
Right.
And Jimmy Butler effectively missed 3 games, and I will go to my grave wondering why.
Right.
I don't know what happened, if something internally.
That man didn't miss no 3 games. So in other words, you said he might as well have missed 3 games because game 3, 4, and 5, he didn't show up.
Well, he didn't show up in game 3 because he took himself out at halftime and didn't even play the second half. And they won in spite of him, which brings me to my conclusion about this rough road. It was so rough that your JT and JBs at home, they lost 4 games. They lost twice at home to Milwaukee and twice at home to the heatless Heat. Think about that. They lost 4 games. They lost Milwaukee Game 1 and Game 5, and then, the Heat 3 and 6 at home. And your man JT, you say he's got a seat at the superstar table. Isn't that what you said?
No. Yeah, he got a chair with his name on it.
Okay.
He can't sit in it just yet.
Okay. The soon-to-be superstar JT, Jason Tatum, in those 4 losses at home to Milwaukee twice, to Miami twice, in those 4 losses, he averaged 24, 7, and 5, which sounds okay until you start looking at the shooting percentage. He shot 41% from the floor, just horrendous. And he shot 32% from the three-point line. Well, you know and I know, at home, if for 4 straight games, 4 losses, you shoot 32% and you're the leading man, you are the scorer, you are the most valuable, you are a future soon-to-be superstar, that you're going to lose those 4 games because you're failing from the three-point line.
But you told me he was going against, in the Milwaukee, he had True Holiday guarding him.
Okay.
Against the Nets, you say you love Bruce Brown, who's a defensive stopper. He had him guarding him. And then in Miami, he had P.J. Tucker.
Are you a superstar or not? Or not?
He got it done. He delivered on the road. They're 7-2 on the road. They won 2 games. They won 3 games in Miami, 2 games in Milwaukee, and they won the final 2 games in Brooklyn. So they're road warriors. And so guess what? In order for them to win the championship, they're going to have to win a game on the road anyway because they don't have home court.
They're going to have to win one on the road because they're going to lose one at home.
And they might take what we know in 3-game playoff games this year, they won at least 2 on the road.
And they lost 2 and 2 at home. And in those 4 losses, Jason Tatum, soon to be superstar, averaged 4 turnovers a loss.
Yeah, he turned the ball up. But Skip, here's the thing. You can be a superstar and not be a natural playmaker. You can be not a natural distributor.